writers couldn't wait to display some level of beating. Had Michael J. White, Casey Walker on this man's the better than some well-tailored slacks. The cameraman just lifted up the camera and Michael was already like,
shut the f up and watch this goddamn combo.
Seasoned this man better than KFC's 11 herbs and spices. Michael's fist contained half the pantry. That's more than 11. After this hit, I know this man's wondering why he was in that ring. And the worst part, getting beat in front of a crowd of 17 people. If I'm gonna taste Knuckles and Paul by the gods of squabbling, I want at least a full house. John Stamos in them. Imagine getting spoon-fed and like nursing home jello, and you look out to the crowd.
Oh my god, bro.
And you see a random NPC using an iPad to record you getting destroyed in the art form known as stop motion. Apple or not, that footage had to look like the corner store game tape. Big ass iPad, I know his wrist was burning. Now Red Shorts, while brave and unrelenting in his desire to put on a good fight, my guy was not quick on the pickup. Casey was picking him apart worse than they did my dude Alex Murphy in RoboCop 2, and he was thrown in the middle of the road, limbs scattered like loose change on the ground. Look at him. No way you should be caught in that Yas bitch animation after tossing a punch. My guy used more wrist and ass than hips and shoulders. Casey was just moving, damn near hitting the cha-cha slide choreography to avoid this man's attacks. If his punch just contained as much pop as his hips did when he popped his ass out tossing his punch, Casey might be in danger. But for real, the only danger Casey was in was the danger of beating this guy's face in to the point it looked like clown makeup. Hands extra heavy on the blush, leaving the dude's face red. That's kind of crazy because with this beating, he was definitely going to be illiterate if he wasn't already there. My guy could not read the room. You can't win. So when is this corner gun throwing the towel? Is it still in the dryer or you just didn't bring one? Now I finally see why they're called cornermen, because I'm watching in real time their fighter get hold. I haven't seen thighs get this harassed since I never seen thighs get beat like this. Even after the actor getting tenderized, I feel like they were less brutalized than his. Got that man hitting the I worked 12 hours nap pose. And then Casey Coach said this.
Why are we going for a decision again?
If you keep stopping everybody, no one's gonna want to fight us. Come on, 2 more rounds.
Nah, if I heard that, what you mean, decision? You decide that this level of beating my ass is holding back enough to puppeteer me to the end of the fight to get a decision win? Nah, I can't. Ref, he's cheating. He's not beating my ass efficiently enough. That's why I'm losing. It's throwing me off. It's like he gaslighting me to not try hard enough. So now the corner man got a towel and he was using it like a fan. He must be too mesmerized by Casey's performance to really give Red Shorts pointers. But let me point something out. Throwing the towel, it is not enough to dry off the ass woman Casey was showering him with. Even though the plan was to play with him for 2 more rounds, he went out there the same way Woody imagined Andy reacted when he ripped his arm. He was not playing unless the game was operation, because he dissected this man in elite fashion, made him wear his foot like a sports bra, took him to the ground, then made him tap faster than me in an X button while skipping dialogue. I don't do cutscenes. So after winning, his coach quit because he was beating people too well. I never heard, you're doing too good for me to be your coach. I'm out. I never heard that before. That's new. And with that, Casey meets up with an old MMA friend, Brody James, which leads to them catching up, and Brody asking for Casey's help in his training for his big fight against an even bigger opponent. A beast that was apparently inside his dad's sack, just consuming whatever human vitamins it takes to grow into the Jolly Green Giant, a 7-foot demon named Caesar Braga, if I said that right. And for that, he had to travel to Thailand. But hold on, before we move on, this scene was wild. Was Rampage Jackson even bald at this point in time? She deadass just said the first big black dude that came to mind. We're lucky she didn't ask for a Kimbo slice of his BBC. You know what I'm saying? You see where I'm going with it. But before I digress, let me express the discomfort I got from her just randomly popping ass so unserious, while a drunken Brody is talking about a serious next upcoming fight. I know it's a strip club or whatever, but that leg pop stripped me right out of the scene into laughter. That's wild. Anyway, we move on. Sorry, I want to move on to Thailand so bad, I really do. But Casey just spun kicked a camcorder. I have to talk about it. He spun kicked a camcorder. These three right here try to set up Brody for a quick little lawsuit, and Mr. Casey was not afraid to catch a case. Comes in like a lawyer, but with no briefcase, just a brief altercation to settle the matter. And that little ruckus is why he agreed to help Brody, the drunken fool. Alright, let's move on for real. Finally, touching down in Thailand, we have a press conference for Brody's fight with the 7-foot demon Caesar. And this man right here, Hugo Vega, this universe's version of Dana White, gets straight to the on the knees activities when he was talking about the two of them. And that glaze must have felt ticklish on the skin, had big boy Caesar chuckling. And the reason I'm talking about this scene is because we get a peek behind the curtain of Caesar and what makes him really hot and ready. Because this reporter turned his chuckles into growls when he asked him this.
Can you give us an update on the assault and battery charges filed on behalf of your ex-wife?
And I thought Red Shorts from the beginning of the movie lacked the ability to read the room, because when it was this reporter's turn to popcorn read, he started stuttering on common sense. When you hear this,
You wanna ask the question again?
he might have said again, but that does not mean encore. This man was too delighted to ask him the question once again, like there was simply a mishap in their communication. That man right there was lucky for these people with the obvious strength of Greek gods holding back this titan, because that reporter was going to need the mystic power of a Ouija board to finish his interviewing career if Caesar was to get his hands on him. And I give it to Hugo. He was a businessman through and through.
As you can see, folks, it's gonna be a hell of a fight.
He was acting like that was nothing but a sales pitch for the fight, and not a man entering Rory rage. It's like a bodybuilder's avatar state. Aang went into it when he was looking for his bison, and Caesar entered his when reacting to the obvious truth concerning his hands and his wife's face, and his inability to keep them to himself. Yes, Caesar, good job. Flip the table. We really believe you didn't harm her. Such a gentle giant. But do you know who definitely can read a room? Brody. And the story he was digesting definitely made him need a new pair of drawers. The story was getting far too intense for him. And seeing what Caesar, no, let me put some respect on him, Mr. Caesar was doing in that bathroom, nah, you could keep the 2 million. He broke a door like it was a sheer size Hershey. He used the double-edged sword of a move known as a headbutt on a mirror, but only the mirror got hurt. He gave the mirror 7 years of bad luck. But we move on to Casey doing his thing and getting prepared to help Brody train to take on the demon with a gripe against bathrooms. But Casey, I believe in you. I saw your talents. But I don't think trash is really gonna help him contend with a man whose one-a-day vitamin is at least 2 cc's of gamma radiation, or however one measures strength in a syringe. Now, I was planning to skip most of this, but this clown right here came into the gym, saw Casey testing out his trash cosplayed into an instrument of combat improvement, and started roasting on him. Damn near lever shotted this dude into laughter from fear and not amusement, then said,
Man, forget this clown.
"What? You walked in and instantly chose to be on like the dot over the line that makes an eye. We all saw you doing tricks on it. And then you're gonna act like he drew you into the conversation with his combat artistry." And even after the douche beat his sparring partner, he couldn't shake the urge of focusing on Casey and literally walked himself into an ass whooping. I never thought I would see someone see a can of ass whooping and open it for self-consumption. It wasn't right away. He needed to heat it up first. So with some subtle racism as the flame to stoke what was to come, they went into the cage and Cobra became Casey's prey as he just simply outclassed him, weaved everything he tossed at him, slapped him in the back of the head, activating the CTE like it was a light switch, because it was like Cobra was fighting his demons in that ring, aiming at things only he can see, leaving those of us spectating confused. Niggas seeing specters, while Casey was seeing the future. It was like he activated a
Domain expansion.
catch these hands. Because once inside his radius, he perceived everything pertaining to hands, foot to the body, perfect fit like Cinderella's slipper, put his arms around his head like a lovely couple, but it wasn't done in a romantic capacity. Unless the romance was for harassing Cobra's body, moved him to the side, told him to hold his elbow, had him looking at the crowd like they were beating his ass. And boy, this can of ass whipping must be good. I'm talking finger licking like a new flavor or something that's laced with a little crack to make Cobra a repeat customer, because he rushed back in for more. Tossed out a kick, and once it was caught, he closed his eyes, ready to experience more of the orgasmic eruption of physical consequence he was about to endure. Casey then punched him in between his six-pack like he was trying to part him like the Red Sea, then reloaded, going back into the body. At this point, Cobra damn near had the same amount of body work as the Kardashians combined. It was about time for Casey to start licking his fingers. The delicacy he was preparing was almost complete. Once your opponent start cosplaying a dog that needs a walking, you're almost there. After divining Cobra's next move, Casey carefully crafted his counterattack, and just like his domain expansion predicted, the moves born from his mind became reality, and Cobra merely existed in the role of victim. He didn't know he already was, even before the cage door closed. Casey dropped double hammers on Cobra's chest, closing the case and freeing his mouthpiece. See, this is why they didn't really let him shine in number 2. But we move on. Hugo pulled up, offered Casey to replace the man he destroyed on the undercard. He said no. Brody's agent wants to spar on some of that Hugo Strange, if you get what I mean. Coitus, what? I'm assuming. That's what I got from the scene. Just like the last movie, Casey picks up some strays to train, and I see them train more than a man fighting a giant. In fact, Case was training more than Brody, and then Casey went on a date with the agent. I was wrong. She didn't have a thing for Hugo. Now that's strange. I'm rarely wrong. But since I'm speaking about Hugo, he pulled up to offer Brody some roids. And I don't even know if he took them. But I think he did, because after his racist coach told him that he saw Casey on a date with his agent Micah, the next scene, he wants to catch a fade with him, calling it sparring. But he was out there for more blood than jaws when he was starting his own movie. Out there hitting WWE moves on him. Then went on the ground wrestling, fighting for control over a submission. but Brody made a mistake. Once his knee crashed into the back of Casey's head, it was like it activated his sleeper agent setting of squabbling and mayhem, because he gained control on the ground and started beating on him until they reset it, standing once again. But it was too late. Casey was on that ass, caught him a tan line, heel to the ribs, made them nice and tender, ready for some tenderism, popped him in the mouth, then had him licking his knuckles. At this point, caught this man Brody vegetables on a kid plate because Casey was just playing with him. Kick feint into his stomach, weave, tap 1, 2, leading into an uppercut, and it was a cut above almost all the punches to have in your arsenal. Casey put Brody in a corner and started beating the dog shit out of him. He needed to be pulled off, leading Brody walking away and sulking like he didn't beg for the meal he was fed. But that beating that Casey just put on Brody just put him in the crossfire of Hugo's strange obsession with someone having to fight that roided up giant. We move on and Brody apologized and finally starting to train. Finally, like damn, it's your fight with a demon who headbutts mirrors. But once again, we continue with the plot. Hugo's presence was felt in the movie once again when he drops a contract off to Casey, but that fell flat. So he was begging, itching for some dirt on Casey to make him fight. And I guess his grand plan was to send this random man in to destroy Brody's leg so he could fight in his stead. And he was gonna have to fight because Vega offered this man $1 million. But Brody was getting $2. What the hell? I'm better than him.
Oh, that's no. In the sense that, no. You know what I mean? Like, when I'm saying that more.
No offense, he's my friend that I'm better than. I need about 2.5 milli, but that's just me. Anyway, Casey accepted, got a little loosey-goosey with the splits, then tested his kicks. Game plan with Brody, then it was fight time. Fight night, before EA forgot about us who really wanted a new boxing game. Oh snap, we got Tony Jaa in the building, and he thought Casey was Cuban Gooding Jr. He don't like Rampage Jackson, and he definitely don't like Cuban Gooding Jr. So now it's finally time for the final fight with Casey and the giant, Big Caesars, not the little one. And before the fight could even start in the ring, Casey decided to utilize the art of rage baiting.
Hey man, if you're so tough, why'd it take you 2 punches to knock your wife out?
Damn, double homicide.
Before even hitting the ring, that's like cheating before the night of the wedding. Honor the ring. Caesar was out there swinging how he talks, slowly, getting himself kicked in the chest. He didn't learn, repeated the same strategy, and got kicked in the mouth. Kicked in the legs, that did nothing. This man's calves had to be chiseled from marble or something. Still standing like the brick house after the big bad wolf tried to blow on it like hot soup. Casey peeped the legs were a no-go and went for the body. That was a mistake. Got himself tossed like some rice at a wedding. But once Casey got back up on his feet, he used his combative appetite to make his case of being competent when he came to running hands, using Caesar's slow attack speed as an aid in his own harassment, hitting his leg from behind, holding him like a lawn chair that reached his weight limit, had dude proposing to the wall, and going up the stories about him and his wife, he need no more marriages, or a marriage with the wall is perfect, great for taking punches. It's just that wasn't enough to stop a man with more steroids than blood in his system. The man pissed testosterone. He scooped up Casey and was carrying him like a toddler. Here, take a burp. Ian punched it to the dome as if it was nothing more than a Lunchable. And if this was a table match, just know Casey would be finished. Then he started throwing hammers on him like a wet t-shirt contest between Handy Manny and Bob the Builder, leaving Casey to resort to a submission, taking the big man to the ground by controlling his arm. But this man was not going down without a fight, getting free with his muscles. Used his fist to mold Casey into a bowling ball. Then, like A-Train in the first episode of The Boys, he used speed to make a mess of Casey, just not as soupy. And that's when Caesar got serious and started stripping gloves, shirt, before he could take anything else off. Casey saved us because he stole them. And why did he take his shirt off? Because he started to get beat on. Did the shirt contain venom? He needed to fully enact his strength, because once he lost that shirt, Casey was beating his ass. Peppered with a 2-piece, step back, weave, have another 2-piece, light work, blocked the arm, stepped in, but right here, things got real nutty. Imagine having your 2 fears of biological creation punched with the force and influence of steroids, strengthened knuckles, the pressure of having a circling sensation roar with discomfort, tearing from your lower body into your stomach like a dragon fighting to get free in the form of a scream, because only pain was born from that action. Like a single tap in the nuts can have you on your knees, but that was only the start. It gets worse. Caesar started treating it like a bra and panty match and ripped off Casey's shirt. The beating that followed had Casey on all fours while Michael was in the back like this. He's not doing that good. You don't need to exclaim with that much passion. Like he hurt me, something slight. That call volume is turned down. The pain is only ringing a little, but we all know what time it was. Once he took off those gloves, domain expansion. Big boy rushed in slow as hell, got finger punched, had his stomach looking like an Arby's sandwich. Not fully learning from his mistake, he rushed in again and received similar treatment. And I'm using the word rushed loosely. He more so strode in. At this point, Caesar was this man's victim, standing there to be abused while fighting to breathe. Got hit with a suplex. Casey showed us what those splits he did earlier were for. Catching hang time, kicking Caesar in the chest. And the final moment of the fight came not much later in the way of a bicycle kick that had Caesar riding off the dreamland. And with that, Casey took the victory from Caesar and the money out of Hugo's pocket since they never fought in the ring. Everybody wanted their refunds.
Give me my fucking money back, bro.
The hands of this movie was pretty good. If you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.